The piece Psychoderelict, what's the connection between it and Lifehouse?
Psychoderelict is rooted in Lifehouse, but it's a strange piece. It's what it is a, and I can't do this short, I'm afraid. I can't do this in sound bites. My career was given to me. I was at art school. I was told that there was a big change coming in the future, and it was to do with computers. I went out, joined a band, and there were no computers, but I was successful in the band. And my audience came up to me and said, "We love what you're saying." And I would say, "But what I'm saying is that you're confused and I'm confused." And they would say, "Well, that's what we love. We love this sense of being confused. And we have no language." One of the other things that I learnt about at art school was that when computers came, language would change. So I had these two things in my head. I also wrote a manifesto for The Who, which was based on another thing that I'd got from art school, which was autodestruction, which was that artists who blew themselves up in public would probably be more highly valued than people that went on and on and on and on. You know, kind of a lot of prescient stuff. You know, I had information that I'd got from art college from some really esteemed, powerful thinkers, visionary thinkers, but also I had an innate sense of grasp of what our audience was about, because I occupied that ground between music in my family were musicians, and the working classes used to come and see the band. But also something else, which was that I had what I call future fear. I could see into the future, and I could see that there was something there coming that worried me. And anyway, along we toddle. I did Tommy. I did a couple of small mini opera things around the band. I dabbled with, you know, I couldn't do my big idea because we'd had hits, and I enjoyed having hits. However, then I thought, now is the time. In the 70s, I could see that I thought computers were just around the corner then. I was mistaken, of course. And I thought, now I'll deal with my big idea, which is that what pop music is about, what my generation was about, the success of my generation, was that we discovered a new form of art, and a new form of entertainment, and that it was very pure and very real and very emphatic, but it required congregation implicitly. We had to, you know, you have to be in a gang to get it, and decided to work on something which would create a vehicle for that idea in the way that I had with Tommy, which created a vehicle for my spiritual ideas. And when I say my spiritual ideas, I mean the spiritual ideas that were around at the day. And it failed. It just failed. It was too ambitious, it was dangerous, it was incredibly stimulating and exciting though to go through it, but it was a huge humiliation for me. And so then we move on, and around the time that I started to work on Psychoderelict, I'd had a period of maybe 20 years, 18 years certainly, where I had been out of The Who and left the music behind. I'd been working at Faber and Faber as an editor. I'd learned how to structure books and blah, 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 blah. And suddenly Tommy was on Broadway. I was making a load of money. I thought maybe now's the time I can do two things. I can have a look again at Psychoderelict, at Lifehouse, and maybe I can also talk about what happened to me in that frame and what happened to people like me in that frame. So Psychoderelict is a story about what I went through when I did it, but also about the aftermath. But it also, again, like Lifehouse, looks into the future. And what's so peculiar about Psychoderelict when you listen to it now is that in it I predict my own demise. You know, I was arrested in 2003, early, allegedly as a paedophile consumer on the internet of child pornography, when in actual fact what I was involved in was a campaign to bring what was going on the internet to public attention. As somebody who, I'd got a glimpse of the internet way back in 1970 when I was working on Lifehouse. In 1985, I did a lecture at the Royal College of Art, where I did a weird lecture, very weird, where I talked about music downloading being inevitable. Remember that the guy that invented the software, Cerf, his name is, CERF, for the modems that we now use to link us to the internet, the actual way that we turn data into language, that stuff wasn't really available until 1986. The first modems came out of Silicon Valley in 86. So again, I was a bit ahead of my time. I was sitting in this thing, I was saying, there's going to be music downloading, you'll be able to pick up the telephone and music will come and it'll appear on your computer in your room, and I said, but the other thing that will happen is that with it will come a piece of despicable, foul pornography, and you'll open the box and there it will be, your child being buggered by some blah blah blah. Anyway, shocking thing. A load of people got up and walked out. A couple of them came back later and they said, this is ridiculous, there'll never be anything like music downloading. Why would anybody want music without record sleeves? We're artists, we want to do it. But also I realised that I'd gone too far. So when I kind of came back to this subject in '93, I nonetheless decided to kind of embrace what had happened at the Royal College and flew it into the plot that the old rock star has his memory of these great days of rock and roll, but also he has these great days of great ideas, hippie visions, drugs, gurus, enlightenment, craziness, and that anything was possible, and that what he sees as a result of that is a chance to recapture his old glory, shut away in this house in the country. But his managers and the people around him want him to get out on the road and make some money so that they can make some commission. And they set him up using his weakness, which is that his belief that the internet, out there on the internet, out there in Letterland, out there in Fanland, there is somebody somewhere who needs him, who wants his wisdom. I can help you. I know secrets that you don't know. But also the possibility that will provide some kind of romantic night. He's a knight on a white horse. He can help the poor, abused children, kind of thing. And that turned out to be kind of like my reality. So in a sense, psychedelic straddles a huge bunch of time. Back to the 60s when I was at college. Ray High is not me. He's a mixture of people. He's a mixture of me, somebody like, say, Ray Davies, somebody like Nick Lowe. In fact, I combined Nick Lowe and Ray Davies' name to get Ray High. Nick Lowe, Ray High. And but also people like Brian Eno and Peter Gabriel and the thinkers, the visionaries. And the people that believe that music possibly had more going for it than just entertainment today. Not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, to some extent, what psychedelic is about the fact that at the end of the day, this guy is pumped up. He does get a hit, and in the end, he still sort of sits smoking his cigar, thinking, "Whatever happened to all that lovely hippie shit?" It's a very weird piece, but it was meant to deal with the fact that what was happening to me is that I had a show on Broadway. Making a huge amount of money every week. I didn't have to get off my arse, and I needed to look at what it was, how I'd got there. And so psychedelic was about that.
I mean, it's not without its humour. I love the line where the manager says, if you must be introspective, please do it in public.
Now, a lot of the really funny lines came from my friend Barney,